All right, guys, welcome back to another Snapper Chat podcast. Today we've got another phenomenal guest. You guys know that we love interviewing top reps in the door-to-door industry. This is an industry, guys, that has personally changed my life, as well as tens of thousands of lives around the country. Now, there's a medal, a trophy, there's an award, a top-tier award called the Golden Door. And today our guest, Caleb Bischoff, straight out of Utah, has been able to accomplish the incredible feat that not the 1% of the industry accomplishes, guys, but the 0.01% of the industry accomplishes. So, Caleb Bischoff, we're excited to have you on the podcast. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing awesome. How about you?
I'm doing well. I see that golden door in the background. You said you've been in the industry for 5 years, and you were able to get it this last year. You said you were out there knocking in Portland. And so I'd love to hear just how did you get into the industry? What's your background in? And what did you do this last year, 2024, in order to go out there and hit a golden door?
Absolutely. Yes, there's a couple of things. Each year I've gotten, more and more revenue. First year is like 125K, then 150, 175. Then my fourth year, I was actually trying to go for golden door. And I sold about 350,000, 360,000. And I totally floundered on the golden door as the revenue requirement is 650,000. But then this year I went to Portland with a new team, new managers, just a better environment. And then I was able to sell 1 million. So I was able to, triple my revenue, just by changing a couple of things. So going from the South to Portland, I obviously changed teams. There is the law of the lid, you're only going to climb as high as the next best person in your organization typically. And so my manager had only sold 300 accounts, not even 300 revenue. So I was already the number one performer in my region. And then I went to Portland under Tyler Wyman, he's a two-time Golden Door winner. Anyways, he helped train me and helped me manage Hood in a better way and get the right equipment for sales. So one of the big things as far as my pitch goes is I started pitching a lot more on value of the service as opposed to the price of the service. A lot of times sales reps try to pitch just on price, and so they keep price dropping. They get tiny contracts, and that's not going to get you to golden door, let alone 1 million.
I think it's really important, like you're talking about, like law of the lid. Like sometimes you feel like you're a big fish in a small pond, and then you go out to another, lake, and now you're not the biggest fish anymore. So I'm curious, what would you say are 3 things that you should be looking for when you're looking for that positive environment? 3 things that you saw this last year when you were with that group. What would you say those three things are that people should look for if they're wanting to be in the right environment in the door-to-door industry?
That's a good question. I'd say first, the right management. Because if you don't have the right management, you're not going to have the right team culture, which is something else you should be looking for. You're not going to be getting the right training, right? So someone asked me which order, and I would say the right manager, because that's going to set the next 2. So training is super, super important, because if you're not getting trained properly, or if you're not doing the right things on the doors, you're not going to be getting as many sales as you otherwise could have. And if you don't have the right team culture, then you're not going to have that driving force behind you all the way. Because I've been on the teams, in fact, my first 4 years, the teams, they were always just goofing off. They weren't super serious about being high performers. But if you get on Tyler Wyman's team, everybody's driven, and there's a pretty stringent requirement to stay out there. And that's the culture you need.
Love it. Let's go a little bit more into depth about that. You talk about the right management. What would you say are 2 or 3 things that the right management is doing versus the wrong management?
Absolutely. I think the right management is going to make time for their guys. Because a lot of times, a rep is going to have questions, and if they can't contact their manager, they're not going to get those questions answered, and they're not going to be able to perform well. Especially for a rookie, who's maybe not as confident their first year. So if that manager is ready to help them out kind of at the drop of a hat, then it's going to be a lot better for them. even sometimes managers, if they're still knocking, they won't answer their phone and they won't get back to reps, which is, I understand how that works. But if there's going to be, I think there should be somebody on the team, a designated manager that will be able to take calls all the time and help the reps when needed. Now, if there's some needy reps, obviously there might need to be a conversation had that, you're taking too much time, and they're looking beyond the mark. So I think that's one of the big important things. And then a very competent manager in terms of sales skills. Sometimes people, and training in sales. Like I've had a manager, very competent salesman, incompetent trainer, right? And
Hmm.
so that's the next thing I would say is really important for a manager.
Yeah, you got to make the time. I remember when I first got into door to door 2, 3 years ago, and like my manager said, dude, just whatever you do, don't call me after 5 p.m. because I'm with my family. And what I learned was your best ability as a leader is your availability. And so, you got to be there for your guys. People got to know that you care about them and that you're always going to be there for them. And like you're saying, if you're calling at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that, like, hey, we got to, that's not a thing, right? But sometimes we knock until dark, and if we need a call to get some help, like you got to be available for your guys. And then you mentioned there confidence with your sales skills, like 100%. You can't just bring people in and have them go knock and not be able to like show them the way. And it's like a leader knows the way, goes the way, shows the way. You got to lead from the front. You mentioned that you said his name was Tyler, and it's like he, had been a double Golden Door Award winner, and so it's like, all right, now we have the confidence to go do that, and you're able to literally triple your income because of that. So that's awesome, right? I know you mentioned team culture too. I'm curious, um, with team culture, Caleb, like what are 2 or 3 things that a good team culture has versus like a bad team culture?
Yeah. Good team culture is working all the hours. Like everybody wants to compete to work more hours. They want to compete to make more sales. They want to compete, right? Bad team culture is going to have things like, hey, let's get off the doors early so we can all go cliff jumping, right? Let's get off the doors early to do this and that. Let's not sell today to goof around, right? Like we're in this cool new place that we've never been before. Let's fart around, or maybe while they're on the doors, relaxing after they've gotten one sales. Whereas a good team culture is going to say, "Oh, you got one sale, dude. Now it's time to kick it into gear. You got that momentum. Keep that ball rolling, and you're going to be able to crush it, right?" And so on that team culture, everybody's looking at each other's numbers throughout the day. It's like, oh, I need to beat, Johnny. I need to beat Bob, right? Like whatever it is. So it's a competitive spirit. But then when you all come back to, your morning correlation the next day or whatever your team does, then you can all get hyped up and get behind the goals that everybody's setting. And then also it's important for there to be at least, one, preferably at least two pace setters, because one pace setter, that's good for everybody to have a rabbit to chase. But if you've got two pace setters, then those two rabbits are fighting each other, and then that helps with the team culture of, oh, everybody can find their match and everybody's competing with at least somebody.
100%. That makes it more fun when people are winning, when you see like that guy's doing it. Why can't I do it, right? Those are all things that are ingredients to a successful office and a successful career in door to door. I know you mentioned training too. That's pretty straightforward, right? Like you guys are probably role playing every single day. You guys are overcoming objections every single day. Are there any other things that you're doing with your training that you think kind of like set you apart from everybody else in the industry?
Training before the season, preseason training is so important. A lot of people take that for, take training for granted. Some people, especially experienced reps, don't think about it. They come out and like, oh, I'm ready to go this next season. But completely honest, I scrapped my entire pitch before this fifth summer. So my this fifth summer, I had a totally different. Well, maybe not totally, but it was very, very different than my previous 4 summers. And so I, even a very experienced rep, was humble enough to accept new pitch ideas and so forth to really step up my game.
And why did you scratch your pitch? Was it because you were in a new market? Was it because you heard what the other guys were doing and you were like, hey, I'm going to try that? Or what was it that made you make that
Yeah,
decision?
yeah. So I knew, there's a lot of people getting golden doors. My pitch was just not getting there. I was definitely working the hours. I was working harder than anybody I knew, but I didn't have the sales to back up what I thought was important for hidden golden door. And so the work ethic was definitely not a problem. I work harder than pretty much anybody I know. Uh, but then that kind of leaves it down to pitch, right? And maybe area management, which isn't as big of a deal once you kind of get a hang of it. And so on the pitch, Tyler, he was giving me some pointers, and more or less, I just scrapped my old pitch, and it panned out really well because when you're bringing in new stuff, it's hard to add to your old pitch without your pitch getting too long. And so you just have to cut out old stuff, which at that point you've totally revamped your pitch.
You said something in there that really resonated because everybody always wants the secret sauce. Everybody wants the ingredient to be successful. And it is not just team culture. It's not just training. It's not just the management, right? It's all of those. But the most important recipe is what you said right there, which was being the hardest worker in the room. There's no recipe for success other than like putting in the hours and working hard. And I'm curious, are there any experiences that you can look back to, like maybe from like your childhood that kind of like gave you that itch, that bug, that resilience and that grit that set you apart from everybody else? Does that make sense? Was there an experience or something that happened in your youth that kind of made you who you are now, being a hard worker?
That's a good question. So um, they taught. Someone asked me recently, "Hey, Caleb, most Golden Door, or pretty much every Golden Door winner out there, they had some sort of chip on their shoulder to drive them to get to that point. And what is that for you, Caleb? And in high school and college, I was not uh, a natural, to say the least. I've got a twin brother. He scored 10 points higher on the ACT than I did, right? And all my siblings were 10 to 15 points higher. I was kind of the dumb one, is what it felt like. And so I was not successful. All my siblings were, varsity on sports. They were doing these really cool after school things, and I was cut from the teams. I never placed in anything, right? I just kind of felt like a loser, right? And so, at home, I'd go help my dad build fences, and I'd just work hard at home when I could. And my parents taught me and my siblings to work really hard. Anyway, so coming to after high school and after college and things, or I guess maybe during college, I had the opportunity to sell, and I was a little bit more of a natural at it than I was at anything in my life up to that point, which isn't saying much, but I was willing to work harder than everybody else because I had nothing to lose. So if you're gonna go balls to the walls, you can make it happen. So I had that chip on my shoulder with my sibling. This is kind of, I don't know if this is exactly saying it right,
Yeah,
but
this is it.
I wanted to prove myself, right? And so I was like, okay, I know I can, perform higher financially than all my siblings. They're all engineers. My dad's an engineer, and here we are, 5 years after I started, and I'm making more money than anybody in my family,
It's a good feeling.
because I'm willing to work harder and prove myself to myself.
And what are those conversations with them now? Are they proud of you? Like how does that feel?
Yeah, they're proud of me. They're stoked for me to be successful. And they say, "Oh, Caleb, we could never do what you're doing." I'm like, "Yeah, you could. You just, you know, you got to be willing to go through the hard stuff." And sometimes people, when they haven't had that kind of opposition in their life, then it's hard for them to do something hard, right? Whereas for me, it's like everything was really hard. School was hard. Sports was hard. I never did awesome. So in order to succeed, you got to be willing to work harder than everybody else.
and you got to run to the pain. I think you look at it and it's like, okay, if I'm in a situation, let's just say I'm going to walk up to a door or I'm going to present something, right? Whatever business or even just like talking to a girl. It's like the short term pain of like going up in that situation, like putting yourself in that situation is 100 times, just my opinion, but it's 100 times less painful than the pain of regret being like, I didn't even try. Right. So let's just say for everybody that gets into the door to door industry, what I always tell people, it's like, this is the greatest opportunity that you'll ever take or the greatest opportunity that you'll ever walk away from. And the reason I say that is because you don't just make a ton of money, right? You being now the 0.1% of the industry, you've made a ton of money, right? Like you just said, like I've made more money than people that went to school and got an engineering degree and do engineering for their job now. And it's like that right there is why we call this industry like a personal development program with a compensation plan attached to it. And it's you learn these life skills and it's life changing, right? Like this industry has changed my life. It's changed your life. But it didn't happen by mistake. You know, you were intentional about it. I kind of want to go back to like your pitch if you don't mind. I'd love to hear like what did it sound like before? And then like what does it sound like now? So like a
Yeah.
non-golden door pitch. Can we hear that one first? And then like let's hear what
Yeah.
you said this last year. So could we just do a
Okay.
quick role play? And I'll be the homeowner. I'd love to hear what you were saying prior to switching your pitch
Okay.
that helps you to go out there and literally triple your production in 1 year. So
Yeah.
what was the
Yeah.
first one?
Sounds good. So knock, knock, knock.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going, man?
So
Yeah. Real quick, I'm Caleb. I'm doing the pest control for all of your neighbors, like John and Billy and the Gilberts. Long story short, if I can fit you on, I can get it done for super cheap. Have you had your place treated or not yet?
I don't know if we're interested.
Oh yeah, totally get it. And we're doing it over half off, so you really like it. Like,
Okay.
as far as price goes, how many square feet's your home?
Oh, I don't even know.
Okay,
8,000.
perfect. Normally, if you call me out of the phone book, it's $400 for that initial treatment and 89 a month. But if I can fit you on, I go waive that initial and drop it all the way down to 59 bucks. Does that sound fair to you?
Sounds fair. Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so that
So
was
that's
the first one. Now,
yeah.
what was the golden door pitch for you in 2024?
Knock, knock,
So you
knock.
knock. Hello.
Yep. Hey, are you the king of the castle here?
Yeah, how can I help you?
Perfect. So real quick, my name's Caleb. I'm doing the pest control for all of your neighbors, like John, the Gilberts, Burbecks, a whole bunch of other folks. I just got two last spots. If I can fit you on and get it done for super cheap. Have you had your place treated or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, totally. As far as what's been going on, have you had more of the spiders and wasps or the ants and rodents?
I haven't really noticed it that much, but in the past, like we've just gone to Home Depot, done it ourselves.
Oh, yeah, yeah. More for like the ants, like most of the neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Because what happens, those ants pop up, push towards the base of the house, get up in the walls. We're going to go clean those out for you. As far as price goes, how many square feet's your home?
I'm not sure. Like 10,000.
Okay. Okay, cool. So normally if you call me up and say, hey, Caleb, let's take care of this, normally it's $499 for that first treatment. It's really thorough inside and outside. After that, super cheap, just $89 a month. But here's the deal. Since I'm already out here treating the Gilberts, I'm going to fit you on immediately after them today. I'm actually going to give you $200 off that first visit for just $299. Does that sound fair to you?
Walk us through the psychology there. What did you start doing and what did you stop doing with both of those different presentations?
On my old pitch, I was really exaggerating the pain of the price of pest control. So I was doing this huge discount, and so that's what I was trying to sell them on before was price. And if we had gone through multiple sales cycles, each time I would have just done more price drops. Whereas this year's sales cycle
Presentation.
was,
Yep.
yeah, the presentation. Then first sales cycle was initial price drop, reducing the initial, right, just like $200. Then my second sales cycle would be a free service, right? Like a lot of people will do a free garage or something like that, right? Then third sales cycle, if necessary, I'll do another small price drop, like $10 off the monthly or something like that. Whereas before it used to be like waive the initial and do like $40 off the monthly or something, right? Which is not going to get you the revenue that you need. One more thing is instead of on the second pitch making it huge and exaggerated, I say, hey, this is how much we're doing it for. It's really thorough inside and outside. That way it justifies the higher cost of the next sales guy that's coming down the street.
Yeah, I think the exaggeration is good, but sometimes maybe people would be like, all right, like, what is it really? And so maybe they would look at that as like, maybe a sales tactic versus just like, hey, like, this is what it is. And again, you're still doing the paraverbals, you're still having the right tonality and the right pacing, and you're still enthusiastic, but it's more so of just like, hey, like, this is what we're doing. You can put you on the schedule, and you're building the urgency, right? Like, this is here today. This is not here yesterday. This was not here tomorrow. This is like today only. So that's a huge thing. Talk about the day that you hit 14 sales in a day. Did you prepare for that? How do you go out and get 14 accounts in a day?
Yeah, yeah. So that day I was going out. My pitch was dialed in. I was overcoming every objection with ease and confidence. And when I say objection, I'm talking about smoke screens. I probably resolved two concerns, like genuine concerns, that entire day. Most people will treat smoke screens as concerns throughout the day, and I will oftentimes wait until they've given me the same smokescreen four times before I try to resolve it. Because vast majority, especially spouse concern, everybody keeps asking me about that one. That's just a smokescreen until they brought it up like four times, three or four times in my book. Um, but yeah, so that day when I was out pitching and wheeling deals, I was also name dropping. Bandwagoning is huge, and you can drop a bunch of names, but if the neighbors don't know which house you're talking about, then it's not a very powerful technique, because you could just be making up names. So if you say, oh, John across the street with the three Great Danes, Betty Sue, right over here, John next door, right? He's got the three kids, right? And you're giving specifics. They're like, okay, this guy knows my neighborhood. He is my neighborhood bug guy, and they want to work with the neighborhood bug guy that is going to be there long term. And if you give the impression that you've done this neighborhood for years, then they're going to want to service with you, because there's that personal relationship if you can get that name dropping. And I think I was doing an awesome job that day. That's part of that snowball effect, that momentum, right? If you get one sale, it's a lot easier to get more because you have a better name drop.
100%. Like, the best time to get a sale is right after you got a sale. And to get 14 a day, like, that is huge. That is massive. And to go out there and hit a golden door, like, super impressive, bro. I'm curious, as we wrap up this podcast, what would be your message to people who are either like, they're in their first year or they're in their like fifth year? What are the steps to going out there and hitting a golden door? I think like manifestation and visualization is huge, having a chip on your shoulder, being with the right team. But what are two or three things that somebody can do this year, 2025, and in the future to go out there and hit that 0.1% of the industry?
Yeah. First of all, train like your life depends on it. Because if you don't train, you're going to be way behind. I read some statistics that our company's done. Within our company, if you train, you sell about 30% more than if you don't train in preparation for the summer. Then make sure you have some people to push you on your team, whether that's a friend you brought out or maybe you already know some people. If you haven't met anybody on your team, go meet them, go do a blitz with them before the season, and connect with them in a way so that you can feel confident that someone else is going to be pushing you hard too. And then, just as far as the training goes, ask more people than just whoever is training you. Feel free to go ask Golden Door winners, hit them up on social media, ask them a couple questions. Vast majority of the time, the high performers are willing to help you out.
Awesome. I love that about, train like your life depends on it. People who train literally do 30% more sales than people that don't train. And I think in order to be successful in this industry, it's like three things we talk about all the time. It's like train, recruit, and sell. like, if you're not offering this opportunity to people, you're not really taking full advantage of this opportunity, because you can learn leadership skills. You can learn the personal development skills. And like you're talking about, it's like you bring one person out, like not only are you going to be able to have them join your team, and right, there's a whole model for that. Like you're also able to help them and they help you, like you push each other, you're competing like you're talking about. Maybe you both are the top pace setters for the team, and like that's your guys' goal. Like, hey, we're gonna be the top two guys in this office, right? We're gonna be the top two guys in the company, we're gonna be the top two guys in the country. And like that's exciting, right? It's energizing. And when you do that, when you put in the hours and like you're talking about asking people from outside your organization, like you're gonna hit your goal. So dude, I appreciate you for coming on. What last question, what are your goals for this next year? Are you gonna go for another golden door? What does this next year look like for you, Caleb?
Yep, another golden door for this next summer. I have to start a little bit later this year just because my wife is finishing up her last semester of school, so it's not going to be quite 1 million this year, but 750 is the goal.
Let's go. Well, dude, I'm excited to see it. We appreciate you for sharing your wisdom. And again, kudos to you for hitting that golden door status. And I see a lot of people do it 1 year. Not a lot of people do it 2 years in a row. So I'm excited to see you accomplish that. I believe that you're going to be able to do it. And again, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast, brother. So any last words of encouragement for everybody out there in the door-to-door industry?
Yeah, kill bugs. Or sell sore or something. I don't know.
That's right. Sell something. All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching this podcast with Snapper Chat, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.